Hey guys, I'm Gautam and we'll together be exploring a little bit of political science. Before we actually begin, if you find this video useful, please like the video and subscribe to our channel for more such content. Today, we'll learn about the democracy in contemporary world. Here, contemporary is just a fancy word which means modern. So, democracy in the modern world is also just as fine. In this video, we'll be learning what really is democracy. This we'll be understanding by taking examples from two nations. From one nation, we learn about the making of democracy, and from the other, we learn about the unmaking of democracy. We could have simply learned the definition of democracy, but these stories will give us a feel for democracy. It will help us relate our theory to the politics that is happening all over the world. And fundamentally, that is all that matters. Once we got the feels, we'll be learning about the features of democracy. And then we'll go on to understand the expansion of democracy all over the world. To begin, let us go to Chile on the 11th of September 1973. The person you heard is Salvador Allende, who was at the time of making the speech the president of Chile. Now, Chile is this narrow, long country on Latin America or South America. Allende was a leader of the Socialist Party of Chile. He led the Unity Coalition to victory in 1970. Now, a coalition is when two or more parties come together to form a government. Allende became the president and was a good one at that. He implemented educational reforms. He was also against foreign companies taking away natural resources from the country and made the provision for free milk for kids. Also, he redistributed the land to landless farmers. Now, all this did not go well with the privileged class, the landlords, the rich and the church. So them, along with a few political parties, opposed his government. But there was a bigger player in this picture, the USA. The government in Chile was a communist government and USA was cautious of the spread of communism. So what does a country like USA with a lot of muscle power do? They use it. The military of Chile, with help from USA, forcefully took control of the government and asked Allende to resign, to which he refused. The speech which you heard in the beginning was his final address to the nation, shortly after which he was killed in a military attack. So in short, the democratic government in Chile was overthrown by the military. The coup, which means the sudden overthrow of government illegally, was led by this man in his evil looks and cool sunglasses, General Augusto Pinochet, who then became the president. He ruled the country for 17 years. The democracy in Chile came to an end. The opposition was suppressed with violence. The government arrested tens of thousands of Allende supporters and also those who wanted democracy to be restored. Many thousands were put into concentration camps where they were tortured and killed. All these faces you see are of many such people who lost their lives. Here are some more pictures which shows us the terror of Pinochet rule. Now, how did this rule end? Well, one fine morning in 1988, he finally decided to ask the people to decide whether he should continue in power or not. He held a referendum for this. Here, a referendum is a process like our elections in which the people have to vote not for a candidate but for a proposal. and the people in Chile voted against Pinochet's rule, leading to him losing his political and military power. Thus, democracy was restored in Chile, and gradually the influence of military was also eliminated. Future governments looked into Pinochet's rule and digged out many cases of corruption during his rule. It's interesting to note that Michelle Bachelet, who was tortured and whose father was killed by Pinochet's government, became the president of the country in 2006, defeating one of Chile's richest men, and finally showing us the triumph of democracy. Now, that winds up our discussion on Chile. Now let us discuss the story of another country in Eastern Europe. Before that,
അമ്മയൊന്നും ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നേ, ഞങ്ങൾ ജയിച്ചതേ ജനങ്ങൾക്ക് ഞങ്ങൾ വേണമെന്നുള്ളതുകൊണ്ടാ.
ഓഹോ, പിന്നെ വലിയ ആനക്കാര്യങ്ങളാണല്ലോ നിങ്ങൾ ചെയ്തു കൂട്ടിയത്. നിക്കാരഗ്വയിലെ ഒട്ടേഗയെ പുറത്താക്കി കുത്തക മുതലാളിമാരായ അമേരിക്ക ഒരു പാവ ഗവൺമെന്റ് സൃഷ്ടിച്ചു. റുമേനിയയിലും മറ്റൊന്നല്ല സംഭവിച്ചത്. ജർമ്മനിയെ നിങ്ങൾ തകർത്തു. പക്ഷെ വിയറ്റ്നാമിലെയും കംബോഡിയയിലെയും വടക്കൻ കൊറിയയിലെയും ജനങ്ങൾ ഞങ്ങളുടെ ആവേശമാണെന്ന് നീ മനസ്സിലാക്കി.
ഇവിടുത്തെ കാര്യം പറയുമ്പോ എന്തിനാ അന്താരാഷ്ട്രത്തിലേക്ക് ഓടുന്നത്?
മനുഷ്യന്റെ കഥ എല്ലായിടത്തും ഒന്നാണടാ. ഇന്റർനാഷണൽ പൊളിറ്റിക്സിനെ പറ്റി ഒന്നും അറിയില്ലെങ്കിൽ ചിലക്കാതെ ഒരിടത്തിരുന്നോ?
അറിയില്ലെന്നോ? ചോദിക്കും, ഞാൻ പറയാം. ഹംഗറിയിൽ എന്ത് സംഭവിച്ചു? മൂരാച്ചി എന്ന് മുദ്ര കുത്തപ്പെട്ട് 40 കൊല്ലം കുറ്റവാളിയായി ശവപ്പെട്ടി കിടന്ന നേതാവിനെ സത്യം മനസ്സിലാക്കിയ ജനങ്ങൾ പുറത്തെടുത്തുകൊണ്ട് ആദരിച്ചില്ലേ മനുഷ്യ? ഇനിയും ചോദിക്കേ, പറയാം. പോളണ്ടിൽ എന്ത് സംഭവിച്ചു?
പോളണ്ടിനെ പറ്റി നീ ഒരു അക്ഷരം മിണ്ടരുത്, എനിക്കത് ഇഷ്ടമല്ല.
yes, Poland. We are going to discuss what happened in Poland. പോളണ്ടിൽ എന്ത് സംഭവിച്ചു and why the communist in Srinivasan don't like to talk about it. For this, let us go to Poland in 1980. Poland was then ruled by Polish United Workers' Party, a communist government supported by the Soviet Union. Soviet Union was a powerful communist superpower before it disintegrated into Russia and its many neighboring countries. There did not exist any political freedom in Poland. People did not have any say in the government, and any opposition against the party or the government was punished. All the factories and big properties in Poland were owned by the government, and forming trade unions other than that of the ruling party or any kind of protest for that matter was illegal. But on 14th August 1980, the workers of Lenin shipyard in the city of Gdansk went on a strike, demanding the authorities to take back a crane operator who was unfairly dismissed. Lech Walesa, who was another dismissed worker, emerged as their leader. Their demands were 1. Right to form independent trade unions, 2. Release of political prisoners, and 3. End censorship on press. And the movement succeeded in this. The workers led by Walesa signed a 21-point agreement, which is called the Dance Agreement, that ended their strike. Also, after this, an independent trade union called Solidarity was formed. Solidarity became so popular and it uncovered many cases of corruption and mismanagement in the government. The government imposed martial law in December 1981. To impose martial law means that normal civil laws and human rights are suspended and military rule takes over. Now, fast forward to 1988. The government was weaker, support from Soviet Union uncertain, and economy was in decline. So, Solidarity organized another wave of strikes and it succeeded. An agreement for free election was signed in 1989. Solidarity won the election and Walesa became the president. So, this is the story of democracy in Poland. We have now seen the story of democracy in Chile and Poland. So, what is a democracy? We can say that democracy is a form of government that allows people to choose their rulers. It is the rule of the people, by the people, and for the people. Two features of democracy are: only leaders elected by the people can rule the country, and people have the freedom to express views, freedom to organize, and freedom to protest. Now, we can look at how democracy spread across the world through the 20th century. Now, these are three maps which show how democracy has expanded throughout the world in the 20th century. Here on the first map, we can see the democratic governments in the year 1950. The next map we can see by the year 1975. And in the third map, we can see the democratic governments in 2000. So take a moment to go through these maps. Now, what can we understand from these maps? 1. Democracy has expanded throughout the 20th century. We can only see that the number of democratic countries are increasing. Then 2. Democracy did not spread evenly in all parts of the world. It was established first in some regions and spread to other regions. Here we can see that by the year 1950, the American continent and the European continent have many democracies, while the African continent did not have many. When it comes to 1975, we can see that some countries which were democracies are no longer so, while some new democracies have emerged. And the important point is that the number of democracies is only increasing. And now, coming to 2000, we can see that most countries of the world are finally democratic. But there are still many countries which are not so. So that winds up our discussion for this video. In the next video, we will learn about the whys and hows of the expansion of democracy all over the world. Before we end,
ഇനിയും ചോദിക്കേ പറയാം. പോളണ്ടിൽ എന്ത് സംഭവിച്ചു?
പോളണ്ടിനെ പറ്റി നീ ഒരു അക്ഷരം ഇടരുത്, എനിക്കത് ഇഷ്ടമല്ല.
സോളിഡാരിറ്റിയും ലാവലേസും കൂടി കുതിച്ചു കയറി അടിയറവ് പറയിപ്പിച്ചില്ലേ?
പോളണ്ടിനെ പറ്റി ഇനി നീ മിണ്ടിപ്പോയി ഞാൻ സഹിക്കില്ല.
പോളണ്ട് എന്താ ഇയാളുടെ തറവാട് സ്വത്തോ?
പോളണ്ട് എന്ന് ഉച്ചരിച്ചാലുണ്ടല്ലോ.
ഉച്ചരിച്ച് എന്ത് ചെയ്യും?
ഉച്ചരിച്ച് നോക്കാം.
അച്ഛാ,
നീ പോ.
പോളണ്ട്.
thank you.